Right out of the gate, let's start off with number one. Item number one. How confident are you that the call you made was a correct call?
I am 100% confident at the end.
Okay, we got 100%.
I wasn't 100% until you gave me differing information than what you had given him about having previous issues rising.
All right, that was actually, if I did say that, that was an actual mistake.
Okay.
My
You
goal,
didn't say
my
that.
goal,
I didn't hear
yeah, I was
any
gonna say
differential
I'm not sure
information.
what the different information was.
I could have sworn I heard him say that this was the only thing he had had.
No, he said that he had one earlier that he couldn't remember.
Okay.
That was the only one.
So I have this one in this
Maybe
match,
that's
and
what
then
it
I
was.
said that I had one earlier that I couldn't, didn't remember all the details of, or I didn't remember what the judge called it. That's what I said.
Yep.
Okay. I misinterpreted that.
So okay, given that, how confident is everybody that the DQ is?
Yeah, now I'm at like a 90.
Okay, now we're down to 90%.
That's about where I'm at.
We're also at 90%. So
Still pretty high number, huh?
okay, so lesson number one, when it comes to DQing people, you're never going to be 100% sure. I did do it. Now you're 100% sure, both of you, that this was the correct call, but this is the only DQ investigation you're going to have where you get to be 100% sure. Because in real life, that's not how it works.
No, they're not gonna admit.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to, well, sometimes they do. But in real life, they generally don't come to you and say, yeah, this is it. Or you generally don't catch them doing something so blatant that there's no other reasonable explanation. So that's number one. You need to be comfortable pulling the trigger if you're not 100% sure, because it's very difficult to become 100% sure. Okay. So that's point number one. Point number two is how the investigation was handled. So let's talk a little bit about that. What would your opinions be on, like, what did you think went well? What did you think didn't go as well? What do you think you would do different next time?
I needed to first start off with asking if there's any other interactions with the judge throughout the event. Like as soon as you gave me the scenario,
Okay.
I should have asked, all right, well, there's any other interactions in the event with the judge?
Okay, so like that's kind of debatable. For me, I would say that like a good time to bring that up is right before you're about to announce what the penalty is going to be.
Okay.
So because of that, if they did have other infractions, it might cause you to upgrade the penalty. So you want to bring it in beforehand,
But not at the
but
beginning.
like not at the very beginning, because like a lot of the time that's not going to matter for anything. So
It's really awkward to be like, you're getting a warning, and then like, oh, you've already had one? Actually, it's a game loss.
and yeah, that's super awkward. But it also kind of like sets a bad tone for the event if you start out on, hey, are you calling judge, again? It's like, are you a troublemaker? Did you get called judge on?
Right, gotcha.
So like that's not a great tone to start out on. So like that's why I think that's the good place in the investigation to bring up. Anything else from anybody, by the way? Anybody who witnessed or was a party to this definitely can bring your take in.
I think it was good that that he confirmed the story with both players to the point where he was able to repeat the scenario exactly. And I also like the fact that his mindset was to take each individual player away to interview them separately.
All right, I agree. That was a good one. So let's talk about that first of all, or next of all, I guess. When you talked to Patrick, had I ever done this before?
Are you asking if you had done it in the game or just previously?
Ever? Well, I mean, Patrick doesn't know anything besides what happened.
I see what you're asking now.
Yeah, had I, in Patrick's knowledge, had I ever forgot to exile something with Snapcaster Mage?
No.
Patrick?
I mean, it happened the game before.
Yeah, is that what you would have said if they asked you that question?
No, I would have said, hey, you did it last game too.
Okay, so that's
why I was a little confused when there wasn't a penalty on
yeah,
that sheet
there was not a penalty.
Someone didn't write it down for some reason.
Yeah, not sure about how that worked, but we'll maybe talk to those guys later on.
It made your life a little easier.
But that's okay, because in the original version of this, there wasn't supposed to be a penalty for that. It was supposed to be like Patrick just saw me do it and corrected me, and
we moved on.
And then we moved on, which happens a lot and is very representative of what you can expect to see. So, but that would have been a great question to ask Patrick, by the way. That's kind of where I'm going. Is you're trying to gauge whether I did this on purpose or not. One way to do that would be, has he done it before? And Patrick would know if I'd done it before. In this match, this is, if you know anything about Modern, one of those matches where flashing Path to Exile with the Snapcaster Mage is pretty solid value play. So could definitely be something that you would want to keep your eyes out for. Okay, so that's one thing. When you asked me if I had ever done it, what did I say?
You don't think so?
Yeah, I was kind of vague and kind of evasive.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I would say that's probably a red flag if you're vague or evasive about something like that, because the only real reason, like, you either did it or you didn't. Like, you could say something like, maybe I did earlier. I don't, obviously I wouldn't remember it if I, maybe did or maybe didn't. So it's not, if I didn't get caught doing it, it's not going to stand out probably. So I'd probably say no, or like probably not, or I don't remember, or something like that. I'm not gonna, if the answer is yes and I say yes, then that's like a good sign that like I'm being honest with you about other stuff. Because like if someone asks you a question like that and like you don't have an obvious way to tell whether they're telling the truth, that would be a time when someone might be inclined to lie. And so if they don't lie, that can lend a little bit more credibility to the rest of the stuff that they say. So, okay, another thing about the player versus player interviews is what would you say my attitude was towards Patrick when I was talking to you?
You were very aggressive.
You're aggressive.
Okay, yeah, condescending would be a good word. I like that word.
I was actually going to mention that to you about how he should have said, well, you mentioned his attitude and asked him or told him to at least be more polite.
No reason for that.
Okay,
like,
that's fair.
But it goes.
if I'm saying that stuff to Patrick's face, okay, sure.
Can we wrap this up? Chris wants to get going.
Okay.
We're almost done.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right, so with that being the case, if I'm saying it to his face, okay, that's a problem. If I'm saying it like in private, people are allowed to think whatever they want, as long as what they think isn't, turning into what they say.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I wouldn't correct the player's attitude because that's not really.
But it's definitely a red flag.
But that's
on the
definitely a red
situation.
flag because like if someone feels like they're a better player than the other, they might feel entitled to win, and they might be willing to take like some extra liberties in that case. Last round of the event, that's also another great red flag for that sort of stuff. So those are like some kind of situational things that you can use to like, would it make sense for the guy to have cheated here? Okay, so and that's another thing you can use to lend credence to your thing. Another thing you can do is ask their judges if this has happened. So this wouldn't be a thing that you do at the table, but it could be a thing you do later on. Obviously, the other judge, you may or may not have heard, but I did this earlier in the tournament, and I definitely got a warning last round for doing literally the exact same thing. So if you were able to find the judge who took that call, they would be able to clue you in on that one also, potentially. So that's another potential source of information. That's another reason why I like talking to the judges about interesting calls that you got during the match. Because that's something that could have potentially come up, and that's another potential information source. So finally, my evaluation of all of this, I would say that you did a good job investigating. You saw the clues that we put out there for you, which is great. We try and, when we make these scenarios up, we try and make it like so it's not obvious, but it's also something that's potentially plausible that could happen in a tournament. I felt like this was like a decent, what do you think, decently representative of something you might be seeing in a real life tournament?
I definitely agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not uncommon to have players, especially, it seems like the ones that are guilty, their memories just randomly go blank. It's funny.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, the people that own up to it generally aren't probably cheating, because why would they admit to it?
And when you go into the video and when you watch it, you're gonna see me and Patrick like I'm gonna do like some facepalm look, but also some like proud, they got their looks. When you got to like talking to Chris about how and you saw that was like one of that's one of those like really big clues that should really kind of tip the balance in an investigation. When you see stuff like he literally did the exact same thing earlier, and like to be fair, I did have a reason, and like it was a reasonable reason for why that could have happened. But at the same time, you've also got to look at it wasn't like he did something and then he did something kind of similar. He did the exact same thing. And it was definitely in a time and a situation where it really benefited me, which I think is like one of the biggest clues to like start looking at a cheating investigation is if someone makes a mistake that would really benefit them, or if they make a mistake that would be really difficult to detect.
Okay.
So
Most cheating you're going to run into isn't planned. It is in the moment. I can take an advantage. I'm going to take advantage of it.
yeah,
Every once in a
I
while.
see an advantage and I'm taking it.
Is there any scenario in which you would not rule this as this exact same thing as a disqualification?
I mean, like based on all the information you had, I think it's a slam dunk.
Okay.
If there was less information, like if you would have not seen, one of the things that we put out there, if you like wouldn't have had access to like the scorekeeper telling you that I had the same thing, or if you wouldn't have had access to me, like, all these like things that point towards me being inclined to want to cheat. Maybe not.
It would just be.
But based on the information you had, I think it was a slam dunk.
I do have one further point. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask, was there a good reason to look at the hands like he had suggested? And I kind of okay.
No,
I just want to make sure.
Maybe.
I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page.
Looking at someone's hand could help in an investigation, so I'm not going to say that that's a bad idea. But like for this case, it wasn't particularly relevant. But if I had a Jason hand, that could have been like another like inclination that like maybe I was.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I do want to say, once you guys kind of get to the point where you thought about DQing, just walking up to the table and saying, hey, pack up your stuff, that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah, that's not.
You should. I would pull each player aside again. I would. Now you have this new information. Maybe pull me aside at this point. Say, did you notice anything? Like, don't tell them. Oh, we're going to DQ your opponent.
Yeah.
But ask them more questions and pull the other person aside again. And ask them more questions. And sometimes you'll catch them in a lie. Sometimes you won't.
Right.
But their tone may change because they think that you know now. And at that point would be a time where you say, well, understand, we're going to be disqualifying you. So we're going to have you pack up your stuff, we're going to take it with us, and we're going to get your statement, et cetera, follow the rest of the
So you're saying I should have taken both of you to the side, like you first, and then taken him to the side, and then done that.
And at this point, you probably have somebody else involved. If
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
like the only judge
Yeah.
in an event, you're getting TO involved to help do TQ
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
But you may be the only one doing anything at this point. But at like an SEG,
Yeah, you're gonna have someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so,
so, like,
he would
in
take
a-
you to the side, and I'd take him to the side.
yeah. So
And, like,
whoever
you-
was getting DQ'd,
You definitely don't want to like DQ one player in front of their opponent. That's like another like kind of big,
Yeah.
not a great idea.
That was
So
a good call on your
one
part.
final thing on the topic of talking to both of us or separating us is when you were asking, specifically when you asked if this had ever happened in this match before, definitely you asked that one with both of us at the table, I think, because if I try and have a hazy memory, Patrick can set the record straight then and there. Yeah, it's like, no, I don't think so. I can't say no in front of Patrick and then Patrick say yes.
It's clearly
because like
happened.
then the answer is definitely going to be yes, right? So
Right.
like if you separate us, that gives me a chance to like maybe try and prevaricate a little bit, maybe not be 100% honest, maybe like be a little shifty, and it's harder to find.
Maybe not molding right in the last scenario.
Yep, exactly. So, but yeah, otherwise, I think great handling. You got the answer right, which is definitely like rarer than you would think it would be in these kind of workshops. So, hats off to you. Great thing. And if you want to talk more about it, then I guess
I
you got
definitely
the
want
whole,
to
like,
talk
car
more about
ride
it on the
home.
ride home.